Boxing Truth here, back with another video. Make sure to smash that like button, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Alright, let's talk about Demetrius Andrade. Boo Boo Andrade. Don't talk about him too often, but I felt like a video was due when it comes to him, especially now that, Jermell's popping shit about him, bringing up old memories of when those two were supposed to fight. The fight was scheduled under weird circumstances. This is the most interesting part about Andrade's career. The decision he made to not fight Jermell Charlo, and then he ended up losing that fight, that opportunity to perhaps expose a hype job. It's understood why he didn't take the fight. It was disrespectful the purse he was offered when he was the only world champion at the time. I mean, it was a slap in the face, considering guys like Thurman and Khan, who weren't champions at the time, not real champions. Well, especially Khan, he never became a welterweight champion, and Thurman had an interim strap going into this card that they were sharing together, and both of them got bigger paydays when it came to that card. Andrade was going to be the opener of this card to fight Jermell Charlo back in December of 2014. It was a different time back then. The purses were not as high. Golden Boy was supplying all of the Heyman fighters on Showtime. And it was Showtime, HBO still involved. And that was pretty much the only two networks on the block. But yeah, man, I really wish Andrade took this fight, bro. The thing is, Jermell Charlo should really be thanking Andrade, because that, just thanking him for not taking that fight, because Andrade saved Jermell Charlo's career. It's a damn shame because, Andrade would have put a stop to this hype train a long time ago. There was no way Jermell at that time, especially at that time, who was undefeated but very protected, very untested, wasn't going into that fight on a lot of momentum or great performances, wasn't wowing the boxing world. Andrade had the credentials. He was the world champion. He was the undefeated world champion. He was one of the best 54-pounders in the world. He was the Olympian. He was the 2007 world amateur champion. He was there to win that fight. He was there to expose a hype job and embarrass Jermell Charlo. And that's exactly what would have happened had this fight had taken place. But Jermell, he got lucky, man. He dodged a bullet. There was no way he was going to beat an undefeated Southpaw champion and top Olympian in Demetrius Andrade, the #1 welterweight amateur in the world, super welterweight. But it's a damn shame, man, that this fight didn't come off, because Andrade would have put a whooping on Jermell Charlo, and Charlo wouldn't have gotten to become, to become a unified champion. He wouldn't have gotten all those opportunities. He would have been exposed right then and there, and we wouldn't even be talking about Jermell Charlo had Andrade gone through with this fight. But he pulled out because he was offered $250K for this fight. It was a world title fight, but it was not a main event. And he was getting far less compared to what Keith Thurman was getting to fight Leonard Bundu. He was getting more than double what Andrade was getting. And Amir Khan, who wasn't champion, a bigger name but wasn't champion, was getting 3 times as much as what Andrade was getting. So it was a different time. Purses were a lot different back then. But Andrade pulled out for not that wasn't the only reason he pulled out because Rock Nation got in his ear. They told him not to take the fight. They will offer him more than double to sign with them and to come to HBO and to start a journey on HBO. That never materialized. Rock Nation, left him in the cold. Andrade ended up losing that opportunity to fight Jermell and expose him for short money, but it was a good opportunity to, you know, put a whooping on Jermell and, move on to bigger and better things, but it wasn't to be. He lost his title for not fighting for over a year as a result with the dispute with Rock Nation and his former promoters. His career went to a downward spiral, got stripped of his title, almost 2 years of inactivity. It took him a while to get back to this position. And then finally, he regained a title at 54, got a couple of solid wins, knocked out Willie Nelson, beat the other 54-pounder, forgot his name, and then he won a vacant middleweight title after Saunders tested positive. So Jack Colque is the guy he defeated. So this is Andrade's career path, going from 200,000 in a vacant title shot against Martirosyan, making his first defense against Brian Rose, and then getting stripped of the title, getting a portion of the title against Jack Colque, and then he signed the DAZN deal in 2018, and that's where the bag started to come in. The Walter fight, he made 800,000, a career high. And then he made $1 million, made those 7 figures against Akavov. Then 1.5 against Selecki, and a 1.5 against Luke Keeler. So Andrade's resume leaves a lot to be desired, in part because he didn't go through with that fight. It cost him an opportunity, it cost him his belt, and it cost him time out of the ring. And also because, some guys are just not interested in fighting him for whatever reason. Golovkin's not interested in fighting him. Canelo's not interested in fighting him. Jermell Charlo, Big Charlo is not interested in fighting him, even though he was offered a career high $7 million to fight on DAZN against Andrade. But Jermell, he got away with this one, man. He dodged a big bullet. It wasn't meant to be. It wasn't to be for that fight to materialize, but, Jermell should be thanking Andrade for not taking that fight. Because he wouldn't be champion right now, bro. Had Andrade took the fight for $250K and exposed you. Because that's exactly what would have happened. I mean, let's be real. I mean, people actually think that you're pound for pound material. Based off what? Beating a chinny Tony Harrison? A guy that got stopped by Willie Nelson, who Andrade knocked out, who Harrison embarrassed Charlo twice, went life and death in both fights, and was getting beat up in the second fight prior to the knockout victory. Jermell, a guy who's gone life and death with a wash, Austin Trout. Has already lost to a Tony Harrison and was lucky to get away with that knockout win in the rematch. Who didn't want to fight Jarrett Hurd when he was champion, but was quick to fight Rosario when he became unified champion. I mean, this guy hasn't beaten anybody at 54. He hasn't even fought a Lara to get those titles. Didn't fight a Jarrett Hurd to get those titles. This guy won a vacant strap, lost to Tony Harrison, went life and death with an old Trout, unimpressive in the rematch against Harrison, and didn't want no smoke with Jarrett Hurd. But y'all think he would have beaten an undefeated 26-year-old Andrade. It wouldn't have happened. And Jermell Charlo is lucky that the fight didn't happen because it was a blessing in disguise. He became unified champion, and Andrade is champion. He's still worthy. He's still a top fighter, but he's lost out on opportunities that he should have gotten. But it's a tough, it was a tough decision, man. If you got another promoter in your ear offering you more money, but it ended up being a bad decision. But it's a decision that you can't blame Andrade for not taking when he was offered double and the deal didn't materialize. But it is what it is. Andrade has a good fight coming up next. Hopefully, well, it's going to purse bid finally against Liam Williams. It's a good fight, man. It's a good fight. It's a legitimate fight. Liam Williams has a chance of pulling off an upset. He's hungry. He's on a winning streak. He's on a tear. He's recorded 6 straight knockouts. He's really improved since the Liam Smith fights. It's a real fight that Andrade will be favored in. But this is a fight that Andrade needs a worthy, mandatory opponent to see where he's at right now. This is going to give us a barometer if he's a worthy champion in the middleweight division. This will be his first legitimate title defense at middleweight since he's only fought Selecki, Keeler, and Akava since he won the vacant title. So this will be Andrade's best fight in the division, to fight a young, hungry, and streaking Liam Williams. I don't know who, it's a fight Andrade is favored in, but if he sleeps on Liam Williams, he can pull off the upset. And what's crazy and sad is that those Charlo's fights are never gonna happen. Those Charlo boys want no parts of Demetrius Andrade. Jermell Charlo's not gonna fight him, and Jermell's gonna keep popping shit, but he's never gonna fight him either. We all know what would have happened had Andrade gotten his hands on that young boy, on that little boy, on the younger Charlo. Damn shame, man. That would have been easy work for Andrade. Easy work. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.